Germany's Nordschleife was the place to be last weekend, with Red Bull bringing the thrills and 60,000 motorsport fans to the storied track via its Formula Nurburgring event. There was no shortage of winners, both drivers and cars, after four-time F1 world champion Sebastian Vettel, reunited with his 2011 RB7, was joined by David Coulthard in 2012's RB8. While Matthias Lauda, son of the late great three-time world champion Niki Lauda, got out on his father's 1974 title-winning Ferrari 312B3. The iconic machinery continued with AlphaTauri's Yuki Tsunoda driving a Honda NSX GT3 Evo. Ralf Schumacher in his 2003 European Grand Prix winning Williams BMW FW25. And Jos Verstappen, father of F1 Top Gun Max Verstappen in a Ford Supervan, along with many other specials from the Red Bull collection. But while Vettel said that he felt like he was back on the grid, the demo runs had a far greater purpose.
Obviously, the bigger mission today was to continue racing without trace. So race without trace is having the car fueled with synthetic fuels rather than conventional fuel. So we had no extra oil that needed to get pumped out of the ground. And as you could hear and see, the car is working and performing, and we all had the same amount of fun, maybe even more fun.
Red Bull motorsport consultant Dr. Helmut Marko has been forced to apologize for his insensitive comments on Sergio Perez's fluctuating form, which he blamed on his ethnicity. Marko got into hot water last week after he told Red Bull's own network Service TV that Perez's inconsistent performance was due to him being a South American, despite Mexico being in North America, and added that Checo was just not as completely focused in his head as Red Bull world champions Max Verstappen or Sebastian Vettel. Marko attempted to clarify his comments, but issued an apology after a huge backlash in the traditional media and online. I would like to apologize for my offensive remark and want to make it absolutely clear that I do not believe that we can generalize about the people from any country, any race, any ethnicity, he said. Sir Lewis Hamilton says that he's already thinking about his next contract beyond his current deal to 2025, with the seven-time F1 world champion planning to be in the sport for a while. Hamilton signed a fresh new two-year deal with Mercedes ahead of the Italian Grand Prix, with the intent to be fighting for a world championship and dethrone those who are at the top. But while the Brit admits things can change, he says he's got a decent balance in life that enables him to love what he's doing. In terms of long-term, I'm thinking about my next contract, what that will look like, how long that will be. I plan to be here for a while, Hamilton said. Daniel Ricciardo has revealed an extensive scar on the bottom of his left hand, with the AlphaTauri driver back in training following surgery to fix his broken metacarpal. Ricciardo broke the bone during first practice for the Dutch Grand Prix after he forgot to remove his hands from the steering wheel in an attempt to avoid his countryman, McLaren's Oscar Piastri. The Australian was swiftly operated on by renowned MotoGP surgeon Dr. Xavier Mir, with a return now expected at Qatar next month, not at physically tough Asian races Singapore and Japan. Haas driver Nico Hulkenberg says he'd be open to joining the Audi team from 2026, labeling it a very attractive prospect, but says he's got to keep delivering on track for a shot at the seat. The Hulk has driven for Audi before, having won Le Mans outright in 2015 for the Merc, with teammates Earl Bamber and Nick Tandy. But the German told F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid that while a reunion with the famous Four Rings looks good on paper, he needs to keep the hammer down to convince its top management.
It's definitely, one of the very attractive projects right now and prospects for, a new brand coming into F1. Very exciting. A German manufacturer as well. people, that I've worked with and done really well before. Yeah, it all sounds really nice and good on paper. Obviously, I need to, put in the good work, keep driving convincing drives to maybe have a shot there. But only time will tell.
Ferrari says that its 2024 car will be very different, having made wrong architectural choices on this year's SF23. The prancing horse is on course for its third winless season in 4 years, care of a car that suffers from excessive tyre wear and inconsistent pace across stints and tyre compounds in races. But with structural choices on the current car limiting development, it's hoped a new concept and path will solve issues. It will be a brand new car, different chassis with different design, different rear end to allow our aero department to better develop the car to achieve their targets, said Enrico Cardile, Ferrari's technical director of chassis and aerodynamics. Mercedes expects an upswing in performance at this weekend's race in Singapore, with the tight and twisty Marina Bay street circuit providing a chance to return to its podium pace. The Silver Arrows last climbed the rostrum at Silverstone, with Sir Lewis Hamilton third from 7th on the grid. But while the squad hasn't quite fallen from grace in the 4 races since, with 3 double points finishes, the Singapore layout should suit the W14 better.
There's reason to think that the car will work better because Singapore is a maximum downforce circuit, and our performance at the high downforce tracks, if you look at Barcelona, Budapest, even Zandvoort in the race, the car was working well. We've had pretty strong performance. So we're hoping to be able to be a bit quicker there and get back to a position where we can challenge for podiums.
But Mercedes acknowledged that a shot at the podium would require the squad to get on top of quite a few variables, including the layout changes.
We've got a longer straight, which will change a little bit how the tyres are working. There's a bit less energy there, but it's also an abrasive tarmac. We've got the softest 3 compounds, so it's a pretty tough race on the tyres, and it's also a bumpy street circuit, and added to that, the race is run at night.
F1's power brokers took a collective sigh of relief after Monza, with news from the FIA that all 10 teams received their certificates of compliance to the sport's cost cap for season 2022. F1's cost cap remains a hot topic, with teams needing to employ careful financial management to stay within the constraints, with 2022's base limit set at $140 million and 2023 at $135 million. But while last year the FIA's analysis discovered procedural breaches at Aston Martin and Williams and a minor overspend at Red Bull of 1.6%, for which it was handed a $7 million fine and 10% reduction in aero testing. 2022's accounts showed no such irregularities, despite the FIA stepping up its investigations of the team's activities. There has been an extensive check of any non-F1 activities undertaken by the teams, which comprised multiple on-site visits to team facilities and careful auditing procedures to assess compliance with the financial regulations, said the FIA statement. Liberty Media CEO Greg Maffei doesn't expect negotiations for F1's next Concord Agreement to descend into a snot-gobbling fight. F1's Concord Agreement, which binds the FIA, F1 and the teams, is up for renegotiation from 2026 and will be the first to be signed under F1's current president and CEO, Stefano Domenicali. But Liberty Media is expecting the teams to sign up early to extend their deals on similar terms, given the value of their franchises and potential for additional growth, with none of the infighting expected from F1's previous regime led by former Supremo Bernie Ecclestone. Historically, the Concord Agreement was a snot-gobbling fight and never got signed until after the season had ended, said Maffei at an event hosted by Goldman Sachs. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.